For Christmas, I had gifted my mom a lesson for both of us to fly a plane together. I had a chance to fly, and then we landed the plane, and then she had a chance to fly. It was more of a sightseeing flight, but it was just an adventure for the two of us. So I was in the front with the pilot. Everything went smoothly. We landed back at the airport, and then my mom and I switched seats, so I got in the back of the plane. Right after we took off, we were flying around. Me and my mom were talking about how beautiful everything looked. And then I noticed some smoke billowing out from underneath her seat. And so I mentioned it to the pilot. He called it a mayday. We turned around to head back to the airport. And then I saw flames coming out from where the smoke was billowing up from. So I turned to my side to try and kick the flames out. And that's the last thing I remember. We couldn't get close enough to the airport in time, so he ended up crash landing the plane in a neighborhood. And I have a vague memory of my mom screaming, "Reeva, get out of the plane." And then the next thing I remember, I was in a hospital room, and my dad and my sister were there, and I had no idea what was going on. I knew I had been badly injured. I couldn't speak because I had a trach. So I was just kind of taking signs from everybody around me, and my sister and my dad and my brother were giving me as much information as they could within reason, because they didn't want me to become overly upset, especially about my mom passing away.
This new video has now surfaced, and it really gives us a sense of just how extreme this crash was. We want to warn you, the video is graphic. It was sent to us by a viewer. You can see the plane and then the fireball that followed. As we've reported, a New Jersey mother, Roma Gupta, was killed in that crash, and police say her 33-year-old daughter, Reeva, is also still in critical condition right now.
According to the attorney for the owner of the plane, Farmingdale-based Danny Weisman, Flight School, the mom and daughter went up in the plane on a discovery flight that they bought on Groupon. It was around 3 on Sunday when the pilot radioed to the Republic Air Tower saying that there was an emergency.
I suffered burns to 53% of my body. Basically, the entire upper half of my body was burned. So my torso, my back, my arms, my hands, my face. I had some fractures in my spine, a couple of rib fractures. And then once I started getting out of bed, we noticed that I had a lot of knee pain and my knee was very swollen. So we got imaging and it showed that I had some meniscal damage and some small tears to my ligaments. They had to do multiple skin grafts to all of those areas except for my face. So the donor sites all came from skin on my legs and my feet.
Yeah, so I kind of heard about Reeva's case because she was being transferred to us from another medical facility. And my first impression was just how dedicated and locked in your family was. Pri was very much invested in your mental health. And so she wanted to get connected with me as the clinical social worker and make sure I was involved.
My recovery process was very difficult. I'm still going through it. The most difficult part for me was that I understood everything that was going on, being a medical professional. That made everything just a little more scary because I knew what the implications of everything they were telling me was. I remember being in the burn unit, and I had been very adamant about not wanting to know what was happening surgically. I remember I was in my bed and my sister was there, and Dr. Eberwein called her out into the hallway, and my sister came back into the room and I said, "What were you guys talking about?" And she said, "Well, I think that they're going to have to take some of your fingers." And I said, "Which fingers?" She was like, the 4 fingers on your left hand. And I asked if that included my thumb. She said no, and I kind of was just like, okay, as long as I have my thumb, I'll be able to manage. While I was in the hospital, I was undergoing burn care daily. For the first several weeks, it was under sedation, but when I stopped receiving sedation and I was just awake during my burn care, my sister would put Taylor Swift on shuffle on my iPad, and that was like my comfort blanket. Had tickets to see her in Philadelphia. I was very excited, and then the plane crash happened and I was in the hospital. When I got out of the hospital, a friend of mine from work had gotten tickets for the show in London, and she gifted them to me and my sister, my niece, and my cousin. And we went on a little girls trip. We took my niece. She's 4 years old. She had the time of her life, and it was very cathartic for both, I think for all of us, but me and my sister especially. Like, a lot of her lyrics really resonated with me. Even songs that were about, breakups and heartbreak and love. can be applied to a different type of heartbreak and a different type of grief. We've talked a lot about me lacking that part of me which was so involved in caring for patients. That was always very important to me, and then it felt like it was kind of ripped away from me and everyone was helping me instead. And while I appreciated all the love and support, I just feel more useful when I'm helping other people. Jonathan has helped me get involved with the SOAR community and becoming a SOAR advocate, which is something that I recently started working on. I can't wait to explore a little bit more. And I know we've talked about burn camp and helping the kids and just being there and that kind of being a therapeutic experience for everybody involved. And I feel like I can help people while helping myself.
I saw it like right away when you started to attend our support group, where it was like so quickly you realized if I'm open to sharing and being vulnerable, other group members can kind of join me in that. And it's a give and take, and watching the whole group benefit from you kind of diving in and really telling your story. Even then going to World Burn Congress while you were like definitely still in a state where that was a real physical challenge, but also understanding that you wanted to be part of this bigger community and how important it was for you and your family.
Yeah, World Burn Congress kind of turned things around for me. I know I spoke to you about meeting the other burn victim who had very similar injury pattern to me, a very similar injury also in a plane crash. And it kind of helped me see, the whole thing helped me see other people on the other side of this injury. That I wasn't just stuck in the pain and the misery and the discomfort, that there could be life after the burn injury. I'm very lucky that I maintained my cognitive level of function. You know, I could have very easily not ended up me. Everyone who sees me after a long time, they hug me and they're like, I'm just so happy you're still Reeva.
The thing that jumps off the table for me right away is always Reeva's authenticity. And it's just your way of communicating, and I think it comes from a place of having done a lot of work and having practiced a lot of introspection and understanding yourself really well. The other word that comes to mind is just like bravery. We talk about a lot of survivors being brave, you know, just kind of going through burn care. But then I think when we listen to your story and we hear what you've been through, you've overcome a ton of adversity. Your family's overcome a ton of adversity. And you don't allow that to sit in this negative space.
And I think that comes from my mom. She was always such a strong-willed person, and she had struggles of her own. She had cancer twice, and she never, lost her footing. She kept moving forward. She was there for us. She didn't let her illness affect her children. And I don't want my illness to, first of all, affect me or anybody around me. I think that having a positive attitude really helps you recover. My mom doesn't want me to sit here and be miserable. She wants me to live my life. She wants me to be happy. And, she wants me to move forward.